Well, by the looks of it out there, spring is still a long way off. I know some of you guys have open water. You're probably out there maybe just starting to get into a little bit of the pre-spawn stuff, but there's a lot of us still got this white stuff we're dealing with, and by the looks of it outside of my place right now, we got more white stuff coming, so it may be a while before we get the ice off the lakes and get a boat out, but that doesn't mean we can't start thinking about spring fishing. And for me, right now, it's getting fishing line, putting new line on those reels and getting them ready. And I think I got a couple ideas here that may save you just a little bit of money. Stick with me. All right, let's talk fishing line, but we're not going to get in. I'm not going to get into trying to talk you out of the brand you're using and the brand that I think you should use. Everybody's got a brand they like, and there's reasons you like it, reasons you don't like other brands. I'm not going to try to talk anybody into anything. I'm going to show you what I use, why I use it, and we just go from there. Usually I will string up 6 or 7 rods this spring. I know some of you might be doing 15 or 20, some of you might be doing 2 or 3, but no matter how many you're doing, it all comes down to the same stuff when we get to all of it. And that is, fishing line's not cheap, so we want to try to save as much money as we can when we're putting it on while we're still getting the best product. When it comes to fluorocarbon, I've tried 2, 3, 4 brands. Some I didn't like, some I really had problems with. I'm not going to get into that. I really came down to Seaguar. I like Seaguar. It's, a lot of guys use it. It's recommended. Some of it gets to be pretty pricey. In my case, I'm using Seaguar Red. Now, that's not the best there is for Seaguar, but I can buy this at my local Walmart. A 200-yard spool here cost me about $11. So if I'm spooling up 2 reels with this, I'm spooling up for $5.50 a reel. And I don't think that's too bad of a deal. When it comes to braid, started out Power Pro, tried that. Tried some Cabela's once, didn't like that. Now, Cabela's has now been purchased by Bass Pro, so maybe the Cabela's brand I used once before, maybe it's different today. I end up using Bass Pro and their braid. I was told once that Seaguar makes the fluorocarbon for Bass Pro. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. That's what I was told. There's only so many companies making fishing line. So whether you got Bass Pro or Cabela's or whatever company you've got, they're not making their own line. Somebody's making it for them. You just don't know who it is. But I thought, hey, if Seaguar is making the fluorocarbon, they're probably also making the braid. And I really liked it. I used this all last year, and I'd have to say I really liked it. Now, I do have to go to Bass Pro to get this because I like to use high visibility braid. I like to be able to see my line. When I'm fishing soft plastics or jigs or stuff like that, I want to see my line. And as we get a little older, the eyes aren't quite as good. High visibility line really helps in that respect. And my local Walmart's not going to carry high visibility braid, so I don't have much choice but to head down to the Bass Pro to get that. When it comes to braid, I'm using 20-pound braid. Now, a lot of guys, 50, 60 pounds, whatever. There's a lot of you're doing that, which is fine. Depending on certain conditions, you might need it. Here's my thinking. Again, I'm using high visibility braid. Because I'm using high visibility braid, I want a leader. And I use a fluorocarbon leader on every time. Every one of my reels that set up the high visibility braid has a 5 to 6 foot fluorocarbon leader. And usually my fluorocarbon leader is going to be 12 or 15 pounds. So in that respect, I figured, what difference does it make what this is if the leader is going to be 12 pounds? I don't need 50-pound braid and have a 12-pound leader. It can just as easily be 20-pound braid with a 12-pound leader. So that's why 20 pounds is what I use. I use it all the way through on everything. Now, how do we save a little bit of money when we're putting this stuff on? I've seen different things. I've seen, hey, let's take it off this reel and set them up and let's put it on that reel. And now everything that's down on the inside comes up to the top and you get extra duty for your braid. And you know what? That would save you. And that does save, and it's a logical way you can do it. Everything that's down the bottom never sees the light of day anyway. So if you put it at the top, you'd have good braid at the top. And again, it might depend on how much you're actually fishing. In my case, I can be out anywhere from 3 to 7 days a week. And I'm figuring every year I'm either going to catch my best fish of the year, or I may catch my personal best fish, period. And if I'm doing that, I don't want to leave it down to last year's line. Not because I use it a lot. And if that's going to be the weak point, for a few dollars, I'm not going to chance that. And here's what I mean. I know line's high priced, but I want to show you what I do. This is a 300-yard spool of Bass Pro braid, and it's $25. All right, so for 25 bucks, I got 300 yards. Now, I did a video about a year ago on this little item. It's called the Berkley Line Counter. Now, what that's designed to do, you're out fishing in a big lake and you need your lure or your bait down there 50, 60 feet deep or whatever it is. You put this on the rod, you run the line through it, and it counts your line as it's going out. So it counts the line that's going out, and you know your lure or your bait is down there 50, 60 feet where it needs to be. So in my case, I just turn that thing around. I figure if it'll count the line going out, if you turn it around the other way, you can count the line going in. So here's what I do. Let's say this reel needs 100 yards of line, and I got 300 yards of braid, so if I put 300 yards of braid on, I get 3 reels done. In my case, I will now put on monofilament, or some of my fluorocarbon, whatever I got. I got odds and ends. Sometimes I'll go find a spool on sale, a no-name brand 500-yard spool at Walmart for $5, something like that. I'll buy that, and I'm now going to, with my counter, put on 25 yards of whatever at the bottom. Once I've got that on, I'll now tie on my braid, and I'll put on 75 yards of braid on top of it. I now have the 100 yards on the spool, and if you need 120, whatever your reel takes, you figure that out. Put the backing on first, then put on the 75 yards of braid. What that means is this box now, I can spool 4 different reels. And at $25 a box, I'm spooling a reel for $6. So I'm using a really good quality braid, and it's costing me $6. In this case, it's cost me $5.50 to put what I considered a pretty good fluorocarbon. So $35, I'm going to do 6 reels for 35 bucks. Average, let's say $6 a reel. If I'm going to catch the fish of the year or my fish of my lifetime, do I really want to chance it on $6 worth of fishing line? I don't. I mean, I'm not going to go out and spend gobs and gobs of money on my fishing. Well, yeah, I do. I got to look at all the rods and reels and the money I spent here. And I'm not saying you got to spend tons of money, but for $6, do you really want a chance losing that fish by reusing your line? Again, if you're fishing once or twice a month, if that's all you can get out, you got a bunch of kids and you got a job and you got to work and you just don't get to get out and fish that much, fine. I can see turning that thing around, using it for a couple, 3 years. It's how you use it. In my case, as I said, I'll be out 3, 4, 5, maybe 7 days a week fishing. So if I'm doing that for $6 a reel, I'm putting on new line. I don't think it's going to cost me that much. The other day I bought my fishing license and my tags to get ready for this year, or I did that last month. I spent $100. I spent $100 just so I can go fishing. I'm not going to let $6 bother me somewhere else. I just can't do that. But that's the way I do it. I grab that Berkley line counter. You got a 200-yard spool, you want 100 on each one, great. Put the line counter on, put on 100 yards. If this needs, say, 120 yards, put 20 yards of backing, put 100 yards of this, and because you use the line counter, you know you've got another 100 yards left to do the second reel. There's nothing worse than putting a line on, you got this one full, and you put the whole 120, and now you only got 80 left for the next one. At least with the line counter, you know exactly what you've got once you put it on. And in my case, I'll take this box, right on the back's piece of tape, and that tells me I took 75 yards off this box on December 23rd. So I know I got enough to do 3 more here. And if I only did 1, I'll probably put another piece of tape, put 75 yards off, 75 yards off. In this case now, because we're getting ready to spring, I'll do all 3 of them. Now in the case of this reel, there's 25 yards of backing and 75 yards of line. So all I need to do now is strip out 75 yards of braid. When I hit my backing, cut it off, tie the new on, away we go. Put another 75 on and I'm done. Probably what I will do is pull the braid out. When I get down to that 25, I'll cut it off, take a piece of tape, tape that down, and now I'm going to pull the reel apart, get it all cleaned up, take the spool out, put it back in, and we start up and put the rest of the braid on. So that way we kind of do the line and the cleaning all at the same time. But that's it. Just a little bit about the braid. I did another video on the line counter. If I remember, I'll stick this down in the description. You can go back and look at that. I talk a little more about it, but to be honest with you, it's about the same thing I just told you today. I really like that. I think that saved me a lot of money. And when I'm putting line on now, I know exactly what I'm putting on, and I think that thing was well worth it. So that's what I'm doing as far as line, and hopefully one of these days the snow is gone and we're out fishing. It can't be that far off, can it? Anyway, hey, thanks for sticking with me. Subscribe to our channel if you would. Hope to see you again real soon.